Hey, what is up you guys? Cryptozoology here. Today I have a very special video for all of you guys. We're going to be taking a look at an old world of mine that I spent over a year building in single player survival. I'm in creative right now because I'm in a backup of the world so we can easily fly around or break things or whatever that we want to freely while we're doing a bit of a tour here. But what I'm standing in front of right now is actually the starter house of this entire world. So if we take a look on inside, you can see I have a bunch of my original dogs, and this is where I stored all of my first items. So really cool, kind of nostalgic to be in here. I think this is my first armor from the entire world as well. But once I finished that build, I decided I needed a food source and as well as a way to breed some cows. So I built up this gigantic wheat field, and it marks the center of this whole town that I eventually built. So you can see I have all these houses and they're all surrounded by a bit of a wooden wall here, so it looks super duper cool. But let's hop on back down to the ground level, and you can see that I have all these buildings and they all kind of serve a purpose. So if we head into this one, you can see this is our library. So we have our enchanting table, and this guy is a mending villager, so he sells mending books for only 10 emeralds, not bad. And then I eventually built up this, which is kind of my storage house, plus kind of where I sleep and have all of that awesome stuff. So this is where all of my items were in the world. I still have all of it in here. You can see it wasn't super rich, but wow, had a lot of diamond ore I could still break down. And I still have this world, so I might eventually play in it again. Every single interior in this village is actually complete, and obviously I can't show off every single one or this video would be like 3 hours long. But if you guys want to see them all for yourselves, I'm actually going to be leaving a world download in the description, and you can get that for yourselves and check out everything on your own. There's a lot of fun stuff to explore in this world. But let's check out a few more of these buildings. You can see we have a bit of a stables where we have a bunch of our awesome horses, got some wheat here, even a few alpacas. And then this is our bakery, a super cool little cozy building here. I love how this came out. And then we can continue on, and this is where I got a lot of my food from for this world. It's actually a butcher. So if we come into the back, you can see we have an automatic chicken farm, and then the chicken all ends up in here. So this is basically what I use for a lot of my food for while I was playing in this world. And then we can even come out the back, and there's this back little alleyway where they could hang some of the meat while they're waiting for it to be processed in here, or however a butcher works. I don't really know. But then we have these awesome little animal pens. You can see this cow one is pretty full because I also got some of my food from there. Then got a bunch of sheep in here. A cow somehow managed to get in there, I guess. And that one too. Wow, these cows kind of don't care. They're kind of savage. And then just behind that, we have a bit of a church. I was actually inspired by a Reddit post I saw, and then I built this, and it's kind of similar to that, but I did my own spin on it, especially on the interior. I came up with this awesome design, which I still actually quite like to this day, using a bunch of the banners that we have for this village, putting them up on the ceilings, and it adds a lot of color to this place. And I love the little step up where the podium is, so they would be giving sermons there. And then the interior is done in here as well, of course. Got a bunch of beds and a kitchen, I think, over here. And then this goes up all the way to the top of the tower. But let's head on back down to the bottom and keep exploring this village. So this over here is a bit of a lumber mill. So this is where they would be cutting all of the logs into planks and stuff that they would be building all of these houses with. And I'm thinking that they would be coming from this forest over here, so that's why I built a bit of a pathway, and this is one of the entrances into this village. And I love this wall design. I think it's super cool, something you maybe don't see every day, using kind of this wood pattern. I think is really awesome. I definitely want to be using that in a future build again. But if we fly up, you can actually see this entire village in its full glory. You can see there's tons of buildings to check out, so definitely I recommend getting the world download and checking some of this stuff out for yourselves. But after I finished this village, I started to work on this farming district, and I'm really happy with how this came out, especially with these custom cliffs. I think they look super cool and add a lot of atmosphere to this place, and all these custom trees as well. And this is where our nether portal is. Cool little nether portal built into the side of the cliff here, something you could do in your worlds too. It's super convenient and doesn't really stand out too much. But if we come down this path, you can see we have a bunch of these different crop fields, some with wheat. I think this one's carrots, and there's other ones with potatoes and pumpkins and all of that awesome stuff. And then this here is a little bit of a fisherman house, so there's some docks off the backside, and they could be fishing here, and then other boats could come and pick up the stuff and take them off to other villages and all of that awesome stuff. As we continue to explore the farming district, we have this awesome windmill. I love how this came out. This is my first time ever building a windmill, and it was a totally custom design that I came up with on my own, so I was really happy with that. It even has the interior in this spot as well, with all of these crazy mechanisms where they're grinding the wheat and all of that crazy stuff. It's definitely something I would consider exploring on your own as well. It even has this little back area where there's a bit of a bathroom. And on the other side of this windmill, we even have more houses, so a tiny little village where a bunch of these villagers would be working who work in the wheat fields and the carrot fields and all of that. But we have some villagers in these houses actually, where I was doing a bit more trading. Not in this one, but in the other one actually. So if we head on over to this one, I have another villager in this spot. He's in his bedroom, and this is a cartographer, and this is where we got our Ocean Explorer map and our Woodland Explorer map, so we easily could find those without too much trouble. So as we continue to explore in the farming district, there's this really cool little secret. I'm going to show it to you guys right now. If we press this button, this trapdoor opens and we fall down into this area, and this is where I had a bit of a sheep farm to get some wool. But if we hop down even further, there's actually a skeleton spawner in this area, and I connected it up so that all the drops come into these chests here. I must have recently emptied it out, but you can hear the mechanisms working. You can see the redstone back here. It's kind of a mess, but basically all of the skeletons die and then their drops get into these chests. So that's how I got a lot of bones and bone meal and all of that great stuff for this world. And then there's just a bubble elevator that brings us all the way up to the top, and easy as that, we're out of it. And then on this little kind of cliff face or bank you could call it, I have even more docks with a few custom boats, and this adds a lot of atmosphere to the place because this is kind of like a farming district as well as a bit of a fishing district. We have that fishing shack over there, so, and then they'd be doing more fishing here, and then boats could bring stuff and take stuff and do a lot of different trading, and just adds a lot of life to the place. And then we have all of these awesome custom trees everywhere. And then once I finished this village as well as this farming district, I decided I wanted to do an even bigger city, and that's what this massive thing is on the other side of the river. So if we come back into our village, you can see that the way to get to it is through a bit of a bridge that I built. So if we follow this path in the village, it leads to this cool little bridge, which leads to this gigantic city. And this is one of my actually favorite projects that I've ever worked on. This is the gatehouse, and this path leads up to it. It's a lot of atmosphere with this custom cliff. And yeah, this is still one of my favorite things that I've ever built. And this gate design was heavily inspired by F-Whip. I had recently watched his city, him working on his city as well. So that's kind of what inspired me to start working on my own. So we got these big doors here that cover the gate. And then this is the inside of our city. And then I built this tree here, which kind of marks the center spot of our city. And then there's some glazed terracotta in the bottom, which adds a lot of color to the place. And then there's water on here. It's kind of hard to see with the shaders. But then yeah, this is kind of the city center, and there's a lot of atmosphere in this place, a lot of things to explore with this market stall and all these different houses. A few of them have interiors. I haven't finished all the interiors yet in the city, but this is one of my favorite things in this whole world actually. It's a bit of a place where I keep all of the maps from this world, like different treasure maps, and all of them have these different names. So Ruins of Asbridge, and this is a ocean temple. So really cool just having all these different things that I've explored in this world all in this one place where I can look back and get some nostalgia and kind of see more of the history of this whole place. So if that's something you guys want to do in your own worlds as well, that could be a lot of fun. I have a bunch of item frames on the sides here to show what some of the buildings are. So this is a compass because it has to do with maps. So I thought that's kind of fitting. And then this is going to be an armor. Hadn't finished that. Then over here is Marv's horse accessories, because why wouldn't Marv be selling horse accessories? And in here he sells saddles and armor and leads. So I think that's just a fun way to add more atmosphere to the place. And this city is so huge. There's so many different houses to explore. You can see we have this whole back place with a bit of a wagon that you can actually go inside of. This is super cool. You can actually sit in this spot and horses would be pulling it around. Then we have more houses, and this leads down over to our stables. So if we come into this spot, you can see we have a bunch of horses, and yeah, this is really fun to build, making it look muddy with all these different types of dirt. And then we even have an interior spot where more horses could be. And then if you come up to here, there's a place where you can actually feed the horses through these little trough things. So yeah, just adding a lot of different stuff like that was super duper fun. And then we even have some back spots where it's going to be building some sewers. So that was going to be another fun project. I hadn't gotten too much into that before I kind of got tired of building all of this stuff, a little bit burnt out. And then this is a bit of a kind of place where they would be planning a bunch of different things, routes, trading routes, all that awesome stuff. So this is, yeah, the gigantic city. That little green marker is where we are right now. So we're at the edge of one of the cities, and then yeah, you can see it goes all the way over to here. That's the water thing we were just looking at with the tree. And then this is the original village that I built. That's my starter house right here, super small compared to all of this which I eventually built. And then this is the farming district. So yeah, everything I basically built in this world was all in this little space, and it took me a lot of time. Sometimes I would take like a few weeks off, so it wasn't like a year straight of building, but some days I would work for like, 5 hours, and then sometimes I wouldn't be working on it at all for a few weeks. So it really just depended how much time I was spending on it. But let's continue exploring this. This is the path that leads up to more of the village, and we have a bunch of these kind of little garden sections with custom trees, and that adds a lot of life and color to the place. And then the roadway splits off into two directions. You can come over to here to this back side, and more houses on either side, super immersive. And then we even have like little pathways that lead off, and then there's little gardens in the back and more stuff that way. And then you can see in all of these houses there's not interiors and everything. We have another map room, and this is where I had a lot of things that I wanted to be building. So you can see stables, blacksmith, multiple wells, sword and / armor shop, all of these different things that I wanted to be adding into the city. Definitely didn't get around to all of them, but maybe I will, because I obviously still have this world, so I can still build in it. But we have more buildings on this side. This is a library that's worth checking out, the interior. It's super cozy in here with all these bookshelves, as well as using sideway looms to look like empty shelves. And it's got all these little kind of nooks and crannies you can explore. And then this actually leads into a whole different building with this little bridge thing. But yeah, and then it even goes up further up here, and we have another enchanting table, so we can do some enchantments there. So making these builds that look cool but are also functional is pretty fun in my opinion. And more houses, and then over here is another thing that I'm really proud of how it came out, is this awesome little church design. And in here the interior is complete as well, so got a bunch of pews, and it's kind of similar to the one in the village in the interior anyways. And then this is another tower that there's a bell all the way up there, so you could pull on this and ring the bell. Is kind of what I was thinking for that. On the side of this church we have a little bit of a grave site, so there's a bunch of different tombs in here, which I'm thinking the royalty would be in, and then I put some names on them. So yeah, like Prince Helias and all these other ones. You can see Eldith, Lois, a bunch of different names just to add some kind of lore to this place. Makes it more fun to build in when you kind of think that there's history to the place. So yeah, as we're wrapping back over, this here was meant to be a hospital. So I had some beds in here where sick people would be laying, and then in here would be all the different medicines and stuff, so a doctor would be working in here. This building is meant to be a bit of a bakery, didn't finish the interior in that spot, and then this leads all the way back to this tree. And then we even have these back side alley parts where this leads back to the stables in a different direction, and this could be shut off by these doors. And then I have more places to get to what was eventually going to be our sewer system. And this whole place that this is on was actually custom terraformed. So like if we dig underneath, you can see that there's all of this stuff that I had built this all on top of. So basically the sewers were going to go all down in this spot. But let's get back up into here if we can, and replace that cobblestone and get rid of that, and we can keep exploring this area. So if we fly up, you can see this whole place in its full glory. I actually didn't finish the entire thing. You can see this last little section is what I was working on before I decided I needed a break from this world. So I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't fully finish it, but I definitely still can in the future. So if that's something you guys would want to see me do, just let me know, and maybe we'll finish this city. That could be a lot of fun actually. And then this is another entrance to the city, so I kind of had two gatehouses in this spot. And this is one of my favorite builds. It's actually this cool little warehouse. So it has this awesome little crane design, and then in here is a bunch of crates and stuff. I just wanted to give you guys a bit of a bird's eye view of this whole area. It's super cool just to look up from the top and see how much I was able to actually build all in survival mode by myself. It's quite a big feat to take on projects of this caliber, but I definitely recommend doing it yourselves if that's something that you're interested in. You know, there's no time frame where you have to get this stuff finished by, so just take your time and enjoy it. And that's what I did, you know, and I needed breaks. I just took a break like I'm kind of doing right now, and I might eventually get back to this world, and if not, I can still, you know, check it out like I am right now, and it's quite enjoyable. But I hope you guys enjoyed checking out this with me as well. Once again, there's going to be a world download in the description, so definitely check that out if you're interested. And I'm going to leave you guys with a bit of a cinematic of the whole place so you can check that out with some better angles, not me, you know, juddering all around walking through it. So hopefully you can get a bit of a better view of some of the buildings that way. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned because more videos are on the way. I'm going to be continuing with the Let's Play series because I've been enjoying that a lot. So take care and have a good one, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.